Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Sanier.
Present.
Alderman Aldrich. Chair Spencer.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderman Aldrich. We have 4 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, the first order of business today would be to, excuse me, entertain approval of the minutes from Tuesday, February 6th. I'll entertain a motion on the approval of the minutes from the February 6th committee hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
Excellent.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanier.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich. Chair Spencer.
Present. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Are you voting present on the minutes or?
Did I say present?
Yes, ma'am.
Aye. Excuse me. Thank you.
We have 4 aye votes.
Okay, the item for discussion today is an employee staffing update. As we all know, we had a hearing on this in December, and our personnel director is with us again today. What we have been provided with prior to today's hearing is an update of the file we received in December, which we received last night. I took the liberty of kind of creating a little summary sheet on there this morning, which I sent out. And so with that, what I'd like to do, the reason why we're having these hearings, I think we've all been aware that staffing has been fairly low in our city for some number of years now, and many departments been affecting our ability to deliver city services across our neighborhoods. This is an incredibly important issue, with regards to picking up the trash, infrastructure maintenance, and just serving our citizens. And it is our job as the committee overseeing our budget and public employees to take a look at our staffing numbers on a regular basis, try to identify ways in which we can help improve the process, support our personnel department, and improve hiring and improve staff retention and staffing of our departments. And so with that, following our hearing in December, we had several questions. So this is a continuation of that discussion along with an update of some of our staffing numbers. And with that, I'd like to invite our personnel director, Dr. Sonia Jenkins-Gray, to the dais to share with us some information about our new numbers, and we can maybe take a look starting with the summary that provided this morning. Dr. Gray. I want to first thank you for being here today. I know taking time out of your schedule is difficult, and thank you for being patient with us and being here to update us and answer questions for us.
Ms. Gray, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Is it on?
There we go.
Thank you, Alderwoman Spencer, for inviting me back over. And I enjoy coming over and sharing any information about what's going on with the personnel department to the committee and to the Board of Aldermen. With that being said, and the summary that all of you hopefully have, and as Alderwoman Spencer has mentioned, this is a summary. And as I understand it, the red boxes represent that there has been an increase with the number of vacancies And the green represents that we're on target and we've moved forward with lowering the number of vacancies for those particular departments.
Right. If you want, Dr. Ray, I can just describe real quickly what I put together here, what we're looking at. We have two tables. One is from December 2023. What this is on the left-hand side, you have the number of authorized positions for each department and the number of vacant positions. And then on the right, you have percentage of vacant positions for each department. This is to help give us some directional understanding of where we're going. This is organized in the order of percentage vacant from that December list. So the departments with the highest percentages of vacancy are at the top. As Dr. Gray was pointing out, the red boxes or pink boxes are those that are increasing in vacancy, those departments which are increasing in vacant positions, and the green are those that are decreasing in vacant positions. So as you can see at the bottom, in December we had 1,774 total vacant positions. Right now we have 1,785. So that is a vacancy rate going, just a slight increase from 29% to 30% across city departments. But what it's important to understand is where these vacancies are, and which departments are kind of moving in the right direction and how we support efforts that will increase hiring across our city departments. Does that kind of help?
Yeah.
Outline. So in the file that Dr. Gray provided us, it's listing all city staffing positions and those which are filled and those which are vacant. And the summary was not made by the department, but was made by me this. So if there's any error, responsibility, but I feel pretty confident.
That's quite all right. Thank you, Alderwoman. So with that being said, one of the things that I'd like the committee to understand is that the Department of Personnel only operates based off of requisitions that we do from departments to fill vacancies. So although on the overall vacancy report, it may show a number of 1,785, the Department of Personnel only has active requisitions to fill 1,300. So because a position is vacant does not necessarily mean that a requisition has been submitted to fill the vacancy. The Department in Personnel, in collaboration with the administration, has identified critical positions that we are actively putting forth recruiting campaigns to fill. And I'd like to share with you what those positions are. They are, of course, police officer trainees, correctional officers 1s and 2s, water maintenance technicians and foremans, accountants and accounting coordinators, tree trimmers, rec assistants, and utility workers, because we're going into our seasonal hiring. Also, liquor control officers, and the Commissioner of Buildings and Deputy Director of Public Safety. So this is where the positions where we're primarily focused right now. And as I have said, are actively putting together recruitment campaigns to fill these roles.
Director, this is really helpful. So you're saying that of the 1,785 open positions, you have requisitions, 1,300 of them.
Yes.
I think that's a topic that we can maybe better understand. I don't understand exactly what the why there wouldn't be requisitions for open positions, and it would be helpful to understand which departments are providing those and which ones aren't. But number two, one of the issues I think too is as well, when I look at the job openings on the city website, I see a total of 175 positions listed, which is also significantly less than the 1,300 for which we have requisitions. So maybe it would be helpful to sort of
Sure, if I can explain that process for you. We only post positions if we do not have active eligibility lists with candidates that we can refer. As an example, on our utility worker list right now, we have over 270 applicants. So there's no need for us to source additional applicants because we already have 270 as an example. I'm sorry, I said a utility worker, but I meant police dispatcher. We have over 270 applicants. For utility workers, we have over 170 applicants. For HEO2s, for refuse, we have over 75 applicants. So if we have qualified applicants, there's no need for us to post. So there would be a situation such as this where on our career site, some positions may not be listed because we have qualified applicants.
Thank you, Director. So I guess I am still not clear on the requisition part.
Okay.
If we know, if each department has these positions authorized, and we know, for example, like the Civilian Oversight Board has 20 positions authorized and 14 positions vacant, which means they have a vacancy rate of 70%.
Yes.
Why is a requisition required to fill those positions? And why is it not that the personnel department is just actively seeking to fill the positions that are vacant across the city?
Okay, because the personnel department does not have the authority to go and fill positions that have not been requested to fill. Because the position is in the budget does not necessarily mean that the appointing authority wants to hire that position right then at that moment. For example, I may need to hire an HR specialist because I know someone is retired. No, I may need to fill an HR specialist to support a particular department, but I've made a decision that I don't want to bring that person on board, say, until March. So I'm not going to submit the requisition right now to fill it because I know that I'm not actively going to try to fill that position at that moment. And an appointing authority has that authority to determine and decide when it is that they're ready to fill a position.
That makes a lot of sense. I can turn it over to committee members for some questions and then maybe kind of circle back a little bit. Going in order of seniority, Alderwoman Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Personnel Director, Dr. Gray. So what you're saying is, because what I keep hearing, and so it's always good to hear all sides of stories. What you're saying, if the director does not feel that they need to put the requisition in for those positions at that time, then you all can't fulfill to fill those positions. That's correct?
That is correct, Alderwoman Boyd.
Okay, and so that probably is a question for the directors at a later time, because what we keep hearing is we got these positions and personnel's not filling, but if you're saying they're not filling the positions, they're not putting the requisitions in, so they're tying your hands so you can't even follow through to fill the positions that's there. And so when people apply, I guess my question is, when people apply for positions, how long does that process take?
The process right now, because of our current systems, is it could take today 60 days. We're hoping to streamline that process when we implement Taleo, in which we're just weeks away from being able to do that. But I would also like to say that the Department of Personnel, I believe, has done an excellent job with regards to sourcing candidates and having candidates ready to be hired. One of the issues that we're running into, however, is that the departments cannot hire as fast as they need to, sometimes because of training and their ability to be able to train. And so oftentimes, even though we may have eligible candidates qualified, ready to go, their ability to be able to receive these candidates based off of the volume in which they need them is sometimes slowed down because of training issues.
So I guess my question, so I hear a lot of obstacles that are in the way of people getting on board. And so one is the directors are not putting the requisitions in, and then two, the process of once they're hired and the training process, so that slows it down even more. And so have you, as a personnel director, looked at those departments to see how we can streamline that to ensure, because I guess my biggest fear, we're in, February. So I know forestry always has it where they have at least 50 seasonal people that they're trying to hire. So are they starting early, or how is that working to make sure that those people aren't paralyzed in regards to having staff to do the work that needs to be done in regards to the city?
So for Parks, Rec, and Forestry, the Department of Personnel has already met with Director Hayes and all of his commissioners to map out a plan to ensure that we have the numbers of seasonal workers that we need. Some of the things that we're currently right now putting in its place is that on the south side and the north side, we will be holding summer employment career fairs. That's in the works right now. We're also in the process of developing the marketing materials to go out to the communities, doing PSAs, et cetera, to make sure that we have the numbers of people that we will need for these positions, to include lifeguards, rec assistants, and the utility workers. So we believe that we've gotten a jump start on that process. Our deadline to have people on board is April 11th, and we feel confident that we will be able to get this taken care of.
And so I hear you say that, thank you for that information. So I hear you say that you'd have the marketing piece. So, do we have anybody going to the high schools, for juniors and seniors to, in colleges to try to see if we can recruit people that way?
We have not gotten that far with the actual outreach to identify colleges or high schools that we will be going out to visit with. But I can take a note on that to make sure that we include that. That was not a part of the conversation, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I have a lot of college and high school juniors and seniors that say they're looking for a job, and my thing, I was like, well, the city's hiring. Well, I didn't know that. And so, I mean, I just think that's an avenue that we could reach out to, that probably people be surprised at how many young people want jobs.
Yes, ma'am. I did take a note, and we will include that in our marketing plan.
Thank you. I have no more questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Director, and appreciate your testimony so far. You mentioned the online the tool that you'll be bringing on soon, and you talked about that a little bit last time you were here. And I did hear you say a 60-day turnaround for hiring, which seems pretty significantly improved from the last time you were here. So I'd love for you to just talk more about those things.
Sure. So as I had mentioned during our last meeting, Taleo is the applicant tracking system in which the city has adopted, and we are in the process of implementing beginning March the 7th with training for our pilot departments as well as the Department of Personnel. So the way in which this system will streamline the process for us is that everything becomes digitized. We had a history of the requisitions being lost because they were submitted via mail. So all of that is going to be through the system. So the appointing authority will have their requisition submitted in the system. It'll be approved in the system. It will be forwarded to the Department of Personnel through the system. One of the good things about this is that the appointing authorities, instead of the Department of Personnel having to print the eligibility list, send the eligibility list, the appointing authority will be actually able to log into the system, see the applicants, go in and give a disposition code for the applicants, do the offer letters for the applicants, et cetera, through the entire system. So that in itself is going to probably cut days off of the process. But the key is going to be for our recruiting processes going forward to be successful is that the appointing authorities are interviewing candidates in a timely manner, making decisions in a timely manner, and then collaborating with the Department of Personnel with who their selections are in a timely manner.
Thank you. And so that time has decreased though
I'm sorry?
since last time? It sounds like you said that 60 days is how long it generally takes now, and it sounds like that was a pretty big decrease. I think you said 4 months from 6 months last time.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. And so even though we don't have Taleo in process right now, let me define what I'm saying the 60 days is. From the time that we receive a requisition in personnel, get the position posted, and be able to provide an appointing authority with eligible candidates is about 60 days. But once the appointing authority receives that list of applicants, I can't define how long it takes for them to interview and get back to the personnel department with who their selections are. So right now, from when a requisition is submitted to Department of Personnel and our ability to give an eligible list back to the departments is about 60 days, providing that there are applicants in our system on a list. There are the critical positions, though, that I mentioned, like CJC, EMS dispatchers, et cetera, where if a list does not exist, then that is going to place time onto the process because we will have to actively go out to source candidates to be able to provide to the appointing authorities.
Thank you. Thank you for that information, and thank you for being here. And I look forward to hearing from the rest of my colleagues and their questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Saunier.
Hi, Director Gray.
Good morning, Alderwoman.
Nice to see you as usual. Thank you for coming and being before us and being very, very transparent and sharing all this information. Thank you, Alderwoman Spencer, and also Isaiah for being Excel masters and spreadsheet masters and making all of this very clear. I guess my question is maybe more so about overall strategy than like specifically some of these line item numbers. I think, and I don't know that this is my call per se, but I know that we're coming up on budget season. So I'm just curious, some of these areas, you know, there's vacancies, you know, of more than 50 positions or more than 100 positions, like the police department or parks. I just see some departments with large vacancies. Is there being discussion of a strategy of just, you know, maybe being, and this is my personal opinion, but maybe being more realistic about our ability to, like, maybe perhaps fully staffed departments, whatever that was in 2019 post-pandemic, is just simply not going to be what it is, and so we should, you know, consolidate positions and increase pay? Is that a conversation that is happening, or a strategy that is being considered?
So that is not a conversation that the Department of Personnel has engaged with anyone on. It could, however, be something that is being discussed within the operations of the city, but I have not been involved in any of that. I do agree with you, though, that if you look at the numbers, you know, 1,785 vacancies, is it realistic that we will be able to fill 1,785 vacancies? And even is 1,785 vacancies doable today? Because some of these have been carried over from year to year to year. So there are some assumptions that you would make if we've been able to do without them for 2 to 3 years, do we really need them? Right. And I believe that those are conversations that are happening, but not necessarily with the Department of Personnel.
Thank you. And not even just, do we really need them, but also if I'm curious about just our retention rate. And I think, from my understanding, sometimes some of the departments that have the large vacancies, we're getting people in, but we're not keeping. So it's like in those cases, if we could have more competitive wages, maybe you can't have 100 people, but you can have 70 folks that are paid extremely well, and you can keep the folks who you get. So I just wondered about that as a strategy. Other than that, I think all of this information is really helpful. I'm glad to see that we're increasing our timeline for hiring. I do know friends, try to recommend friends and people to apply. Yes. Many people, especially in my age range, are looking to get into a career, and that timeline of the process, almost 90% of people I know, by the time they got a call, they already had another job because our process took so long. So I'm glad to see that making progress. Also,
I believe also, though, that the timeline to hire can be improved if the Department of Personnel talent acquisition team was staffed properly. I only have 6 recruiters to try to fill 1,700 vacancies, or 1,300 based off of what we currently have in-house. Industry standard for a recruiter is somewhere around 30 to 40 requisitions. My staff is faced with dealing with anywhere from 75 plus requisitions. And so it becomes very difficult to determine which position to place that is more important than another, because they're all just important just based off of the critical positions list. And so staffing is clearly an issue for the Department of Personnel because we don't have it. Our staff hasn't been increased in years, and we just don't have the staff, in my opinion, to properly even fill these positions that we do have that we're focused on.
Yes. I just wanted to, are we going to see that reflected in the budget that is proposed?
I did submit in my last year's budget, and I am submitting again this year's budget, positions that are needed.
Okay. Well, thank you, and also happy Black Everything Month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Aldrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. How you doing, Director?
Good morning, Alderman.
Good to see you. Now, I don't have any questions. I think one was answered by Alderwoman Boyd as well as Alderwoman Saunier. I just want to, I know it's a big overhaul to try to bring an archaic system to the 21st century. And I know we've had some of these conversations on record and also off record. I just want to commend you for how you're trying to bring personnel to the 21st. Looking forward to see how, what's that, Taleo, speed up the process for hiring. Like Alderwoman Saunier said, I think the issue is once these applications are getting in, and I know you go out in the community, you've been to several of my town halls, once they get in, it just takes so long to figure out if a person has a job and then the background and all of that. So hopefully with the Taleo system, we will start to see some type of improvement. So do you know, I guess, when that is going to be official? So when is it?
We just met yesterday to try and finalize our timeline. We're anticipating that by April 22nd, the system should be launched throughout the entire city. So we're starting testing, like I said, and training March 7th. And by April 22nd, we're hoping that the system will be completely launched throughout the city. The other system that we're implementing at the same time is called Hire Right. And so Hire Right is an organization that will be doing all of our background checks, employment verifications, et cetera. And so it integrates with Taleo. So hopefully the entire process, to include background checks, employment verifications, drug testing, will also be streamlined along with Taleo.
Love that March 7th date. That's Pisces season, and my birthday's March 15th, so I got to do a shameless plug there. So I guess we wouldn't, at least from the Board of Aldermen saying to this budget committee, we wouldn't see, I guess, potential numbers change in some of these vacancies probably to probably the summertime.
Yes. you should see them change even before the summer, because a lot of these positions that are in here are seasonal, and we should have them filled by mid-April, so we should be able to see these numbers going down. But the other thing is really, it's gonna have to be a partnership with the departments, where the departments actively fill their positions that we have. We're providing candidates, and so it's going to be a partnership where the departments in turn will have to timely fill their vacancies. And then, of course, working with the administration, we're beginning to look at retention and put retention programs in place to be able to address our ability to hire them, but then we're losing them just as fast.
Gotcha. And I asked that because I know we started having like budget conversations in, is it April, Madam Chair, around that time?
We'll start them in May.
In May. So was trying to see maybe if, depending on how fast Taleo and the background check and department heads, you know, work with you, if we would see a drop, which I think could be helpful in, you know, asking departments, do you need this position? How can this position, like Alderwoman Sonye said, maybe start looking at how do we provide more funding for employees, understanding they won't actually use all those positions, like the police is, what, 100-some vacancies short every year. Sure, they're going to be short this year. I think Chief Tracy's doing a good job, but, you know, how do we turn those vacancies? I just seen, maybe getting a little off record, but seen how St. Louis County just is building a child care facility, right? So how do we turn some of these vacancies into either pay increases for folks or move them around to different departments that may need it that could fill the vacancy? So that was kind of my question and comment. And again, I appreciate the work that you're doing to bring the city to the 21st century.
Thank you, Alderman.
Happy Black History Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Director, I have a few follow-up questions with regards to the 60 days. I really appreciate that we're moving in the right direction. What is our goal here? What is the sort of industry standard? 60 days feels like a very long time from opening the door. And as a follow-up, I've been getting a lot of communication from applicants that have stated that they've applied and not gotten had a timely response. So I guess maybe, and I realize those are anecdotal and those are one-offs. It's not necessarily an average, so it may not reflect on sort of the overall practice. But if you could speak to the sort of gold standard or what the goal is for that sort of turnaround time for a department, and number two, how long we're shooting for. What is the goal for a response to it once an application comes in? How long are we looking to take to respond to that application?
Right. So the Department of Personnel, in collaboration with the administration, is currently working on developing these metrics through LUSTAT. And so we'll be reporting out on a monthly basis, but we have not established yet what those metrics are. And we want to be pretty accurate with it. So once we get Taleo implemented, then we'll have a better understanding of what realistic metrics look like, and we'll be able to report out on them. The other thing that I want to mention is that I am very pleased with the number of applications that we actually are receiving. And that process right there is still somewhat timely. And to be quite honest and transparent, it's because I don't have staff that can evaluate the applications based off of the numbers that we are receiving. So people are applying for our jobs. Right now, the Department of Personnel is running about 3 weeks behind with being able to screen applications when we receive them. Because I now get a weekly report that tells me how many applicants are waiting to be screened. And on that report, it shows about 3 weeks out. For me, that's unacceptable. To me, it's more realistic that when an application comes in, we should be able to screen within 3 to 4 days. But that is being driven again by lack of staffing to be able to get that work done.
Thank you, Director. And it looks like, your department is down 12 people, so 20%, which is on the which is on the low end of vacancy across city departments. So it really speaks to the need to have staffing in all of our city departments. So it sounds like we're about 3 weeks out. So an applicant should expect to receive a response within about 3 weeks with the goal of being 3 to 5 days. And so that's really helpful to understand what we're trying to get to. And so when folks don't receive a response in that timeline, what can we tell them how can we direct them to continue to engage?
The only thing that you could really tell them is that once they receive confirmation that their application has been received, they should anticipate getting an email from the Department of Personnel with their status. Either they meet the minimum qualifications or either with their ranking on the list.
Okay, that's really helpful. If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of focus on just a couple of departments of concern.
Okay.
I think in our last hearing we focused, or at least had some questions around the quality of life departments, making sure that we're focusing on some of those. In particular, one of the more alarming ones for me is the City Justice Center. Looking at those departments that are increasing in vacancy, that is one of the top along the list. Can you speak to that, hiring, in our Justice Center, making sure that those that are in our custody are safe?
Yes, we are actively collaborating and working with Commissioner Abdullah, along with her Deputy Director Spear, in interviewing, identifying candidates. But what we're finding is that a lot of the candidates that apply, they may not pass the drug test, or they may have a felony conviction which restricts them from working in the Justice Center. Okay. But we have advertised, we've made, we're exhausting all of our resources to be able to fill those positions. We have even gone to allowing part-time workers, a part-time schedule in the Justice Center. We've had some applications, but not a great deal of applications for the part-time work. So we are doing everything that we can to fill those positions.
Okay. To that question? Sure. Go ahead, Alderwoman Saulnier.
Just to follow up to Alderwoman Spencer's question, is marijuana one of the drugs we're testing people for?
Yes, it is.
So it's still held against them if it comes back? Is that because it's not federally?
Exactly. For positions that require,
right.
We don't drug test for all positions in the city of St. Louis. Only those that are DOT, public safety, operation of equipment, those types of things.
Dr. Gray, is that required under
Yes.
state or federal law, or is it a local?
Federal.
Yeah.
Well, we're not holding any federal prisoners any longer. We're holding, but I'm curious.
But just for public safety in itself, there are requirements that we have to follow through with.
With regards to marijuana, okay.
Yes.
The vacancy in that.
We just increased the pay a couple of months ago. Okay.
Sorry, my question was just what's the pay of those CJC workers that Alderwoman Spencer's asking about?
We just increased the pay significantly for the Justice Center a couple of months ago. It came before the board and it was approved, and we increased the pay significantly. I can't tell you the exact annual amount. I want to say, no, I don't want to say because I can't say 100% what it is. So I'll wait till I can provide that exact answer.
So, but just to be clear, all the positions, I mean, some of these departments, I want to make sure that we're having all of those positions available online. And
they are
actively searching for them. Okay. Some of the other departments that are sort of alarming to me would include the traffic and lighting division having an increase in vacancy. I know we are currently several weeks, months out and replacing down street lights and street signs, which is a matter of real public safety. As well, the police department and towing division, these are quality of life issues. We're really having a hard time pulling abandoned cars off the streets and seeing the tow division increase significantly.
On the tow division, real quick, we have just recently hired a towing commissioner. So we anticipate that that department, you'll begin to see a turnaround pretty quickly.
Okay.
Because we actually do have someone in there now
Okay.
that is over towing.
With regards to the police department, as well as the fire, those public safety departments, I noticed we have an increase of vacancy in our police department going from 485 open positions to 520 open police department positions. It would be really helpful if we could break that out by uniformed and and civilian employees, so we have an understanding of where the vacancies are. Would that be something that would be feasible? Okay. Do we know how our overall 30% municipal position vacancy rate compares on a national basis? I know, through COVID, et cetera, hiring has been a challenge in cities and in companies. But, can you help put this into perspective? Do you have a benchmark for what we're looking for, to Alderwoman Saulnier's point about kind of consolidating and recognizing those departments that just have perpetual vacancies, maybe thinking through reorganizing them into higher pay, or what that looks like? Because if the majority of our city's budget goes to city employee, paying salaries, and if we're looking at a 30% vacancy rate, this is an ongoing budgetary issue year over year, and it's just compounding kind of a failure to deliver services, et cetera. And I know you're coming into a system that has been far from perfect for a very, very long time, and we're all very grateful for your continued engagement with this committee and improvement to the system. But we still obviously have a long way to go, starting from a fairly broken place.
Right. So I do not have today a comparison with other municipalities. I can tell you that in general, across the country, police departments, as well as fire departments, all are suffering from being able to hire and identify candidates. As an example, we're in the process of going through testing in the fire department. And as a part of that testing process, there are assessors that will come from other fire departments throughout the country to serve as assessors, to help execute the test. And we're having a very difficult time identifying assessors, because where the relationship used to be, where if I send assessors to you, then you'll send assessors to me, et cetera, that no longer exists, because everyone is so short-staffed that they cannot afford to let people go and serve in this capacity. So now they're requiring those that participate as assessors to use their own personal vacation time or PTO time to be able to go and serve. And so just to kind of give you an idea of a real-life example of how the lack of staffing is impacting cities across the country. So it's not just St. Louis.
Okay, thank you for that. We have I want to thank Isaiah for putting together the kind of outstanding questions from the last hearing, so I'll just go through those real quickly. One of the things we had talked about, Alderwoman Boyd and myself mentioned, the CDLs that we're paying for folks to get. We had discussed maybe requiring those that we are paying for staff or for training, if they were to leave the city within a certain period of time after getting that training, that they would have to repay, and that would maybe help retention, or at least sort of reduce the number of folks that are kind of using the city employment as a training camp to go on to other employment. Oh, and I see Alderwoman Boyd.
So from a Department of Personnel standpoint, we cannot identify just, say, for example, one group to say that we're going to require them to pay us back, et cetera, because we extend the same type of training to other types of positions within the city. So that would have to become some type of citywide policy, that anyone that the city would extend some type of funds towards for training, that there would be some type of recoupment process. And right now, we don't have anything in place like that. So if that is something that the city wants the Department of Personnel to look into, to develop, some type of policy around recoupment of funds should someone leave, then we can look into that. But that request has not been made up to this point for us.
Okay, that's helpful. So I think that's something we can work on, perhaps with the help of Ryan and others. We can kind of look at how much money we're spending on that. Alderwoman Boyd, did you have a you
Yeah,
have your hand up?
yes, ma'am, I do. Dr. Gray, my question is, because with the police department, they do have that policy in effect. And the issue was, we weren't enforcing that policy. And so if it's other departments, maybe we need to look at holistically in regards to other departments as a whole, how we can make sure that is enforced like it is through the police department, because they go through the police training, the cadet training, and says that if they have to stay a certain amount of time, and if they don't, they have to pay that money back. Now, if I'm off, somebody please clarify for me.
Alderwoman Boyd, I think that's a great question, or great point. So if the department has that type of policy in place, perhaps what we should be doing is looking at policies like that citywide, as Dr. Gray was pointing out. I'm committed to working on that. I think can be used as not only a matter of retention, but also of recruitment, to say, hey, look, the city is going to pay for training of this kind, CDL licensing, et cetera, with the requirement that you stay on as a city employee for 2 to 5 years, or whatever that looks like, depending on the cost of whatever training we're providing. So I'll state that I'm committed to working on that, and we can kind of try to put together a citywide policy that it's helpful to know the police department has something like that in place, Alderwoman Boyd, that we can kind of use as a model.
Right. In addition to that, I would also recommend that you consider some type of recoupment for individuals that we give a hiring incentive or bonus. Because if we're giving incentives to hire, for example, CJC, we increased it to $3,500, and after they meet their working test period. But even after that, if they're not here, say for example, if the time frame is a year, there may be some prorated reimbursement to the city for that, not only just for training, as a suggestion.
Oh, great.
That's a good suggestion, Dr. Gray. I agree 110% with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So we will maybe create a little working group to kind of help put that policy together. One of the other, Alderwoman Schweitzer in our last hearing requested that links to rejection letters take applicants to more city job positions. I think that would be especially important for folks that are applying for the CJC and maybe fail a marijuana test, but could serve our city in a number of other ways. Has that been updated?
It'll be included in the Tuleo rollout.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you so much. And lastly, we had talked about a list of critical positions, for each department. So, that we could prioritize those. I think having each department, it's sort of overwhelming to think about 1,300 positions for which we have requisitions. But if we could, narrow that down to 150 critical positions that we're focusing on, those positions being led by departments, that could help making sure that at least for 10 to 20% of those positions, we are having a 5-day turnaround for applicants. I mean, I would hate to apply that turnaround time, especially with the 3-week lag, just sort of across the board instead of prioritizing those for which we have a real critical and immediate need.
Right. And yes, and so earlier in my testimony, I had mentioned some of the critical positions that have been identified, and it's probably close to about 75 or 80. They primarily are in the comptroller's office, Parks, Recs, and Forestry, the Water Division, Police, and CJC, and a couple in the Health Department. And I just want to go ahead and get an attaboy in there. We were able to hire the Chief Medical Officer position for CJC. So kudos to Dr. Mahdi and my team and the administration for getting that through. That was a critical, difficult position to get filled.
Congratulations on that. I know that was a big hole to fill. Alderwoman Boyd, I see your hand raised. Did you have some follow-up questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, and I don't know if Dr. Gray could answer this question, because I heard Alderwoman Sonia in regards to the positions and the staffing. And I do know that we have, the city has shrunk tremendously, and we are we looking at, and you might not can answer this question, are we looking at reevaluating all the departments to see if we actually need the positions that's there? Or is that something that we need to get with Nancy Cross in regards to see if we can start streamlining? Because I agree, if you have 40 positions open and realistically you only need 25, why can't those people that you don't need, why can't those salaries be moved to help, incentivize the people that you have there?
Right. So you are correct. That would be a conversation to have with Director Cross. I do know that just in conversation, those types of things have been mentioned before, but nothing formally planned to look at that.
Okay, because I do know the administration is really trying to reevaluate positions and departments to see if it's realistic to hold the positions where we are. In certain departments, we can't, change the staffing. It's just like in food service, people think, oh, you don't need all the people. You need 20 people regardless. I don't care how many you got to serve, because you're going to still need those 20 people to do the work. So that's why I was just trying to figure out if it's something we can work on with them to say, is it realistic to say you need 50 people in this spot? And for years you had it, but you might not need it now. And so realistically, what can we do?
I think would be a valuable conversation to have, because I actually agree with you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for coming in today. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day to you and everyone.
Thank you. Dr. Gray, thank you for, it's our role to continue to take a look at staffing, but of course, as the Board of Aldermen, we're not directing you. That's not our role, but identifying policies and issues where we can help improve the system. So, we rely on you as well to tell us where your policies need improvement. For example, that recruitment of retaining funds, the retention requirement, for positions that get bonuses, those sorts of things. Identifying those things, we can work on putting those policies in place when we know there's a need or there's an improvement that could help you do your job better. So please feel free to reach out to us. We really do appreciate the update on these staffing numbers. It would be helpful. It's certainly, if it is not a burden on your staff, I assume it's not, to just run a report like this maybe every couple months.
Okay.
I don't mind putting the summary together so that this committee can kind of take a look at, directionally speaking, where we're going as far as hiring, and when we see those gaps or those movements in the wrong direction, or certainly in the right direction, we can acknowledge them and help do our job to help you do your job better.
And I appreciate the committee taking an interest in what the Department of Personnel does in helping and providing support where you can. I would like to leave you with one thing though, if you would pass it out among the committee members.
Sure.
And this, I think it's important for you just to have. a list of the accomplishments that Department of Personnel has made with over the last 12 months for you to have.
Thank you, Director. Did you want to highlight any of those orally?
I think,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't know there were going to be people on Zoom, or I would have emailed it. But I think one of the things we talk here at this committee hearing on very high-level things, but to get the Department of Personnel where it needs to be from a service and efficiency standpoint, there are many things that are behind the scenes that need to be corrected and fixed and have been. So this is primarily what this is a list of, those types of things that we've had to do behind the scenes to be able to begin to streamline so that we can be more efficient. So just at your leisure, you know, if you, and I will email a copy to you, Alderwoman Spencer, and if you could get it to those that are on Zoom, I'd appreciate it.
We'll be happy to do that. Certainly sharing accomplishments. We can certainly make that available to the committee. And with that, do I have any follow-up from members of the committee? Alderwoman Saulnier.
Just one. I'm just skimming this. I can see some abbreviations that maybe you can include, like what these abbreviations. Some of them are new to me.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Dr. Gray, too, if you want, when you send this out electronically, you could maybe include some of those definitions.
Okay.
If you,
That'd be fine.
Would that be helpful? Yeah, okay. Okay. I think some of these are going to be new to all of us. You know, and we're taking a deeper look than I think the Board of Aldermen has done in the past. You know, I, for one, didn't fully appreciate the requisition process and those other things. So we really appreciate the deep dive we're doing here. That you're the first new director of personnel in many, many years, and we really appreciate your willingness to work with the Board of Aldermen and come for us and hear our concerns and answer questions and share your accomplishments with us. And with that, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you, Isaiah, for the chocolates and the delicious treats. I had 7. Yes, I'm making a pile of wrappers, Alderman Aldridge. And with that, I think we have accomplished our goal here as far as today is. We have some more work to do, but I will entertain a motion for.
Did you want to excuse Aldenberg?
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. Or yeah, I'd like to excuse. I received notice that Alderman Oldenburg would not be able to join us today. So I'd like a motion to excuse Alderman Oldenburg.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And with that, no objections. Sorry. No announcements. Do we have any announcements? Oh, I guess we're going to be moving our committee hearings to 10 a.m. to try to make quorum on time from now on. And with, am I missing?
Bring up the discussion about what I emailed you about the Charter Commission.
Oh.
We could do it at another meeting, just saying that that's something for members to talk about.
Okay, sure, yes. And I'd like to also share with the committee an excellent recommendation request from Alderwoman Saulnier. This committee will have a discussion about some of the budgetary and hiring concerns that the Charter Commission could consider. So what we'll be doing is kind of putting together a list of things that the Charter Commission could be considering as far as those areas of jurisdiction are concerned. So be looking forward to that. I appreciate Alderwoman Saulnier putting forward that idea, and I think it's one worthy of our discussion here in this committee. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Previous row.
Yeah,
We wasn't here.
we are adjourned. Happy Valentine's Day.